All right, in today's video, we're gonna make a home plate baseball display. Now, if you're like me and your kids played baseball and you've got buckets of these things, it's time to start displaying them. Now, follow along today as we make an easy home plate design for your baseballs. Meet me on deck and let's take a swing. All right, now that we've got our splines cut, we can go ahead and start working on our glue up. But what I'm gonna start with our 45 degree, or basically the bottom of the plate. We're gonna glue it, we're gonna let it hold, and then I'm gonna add the splines later. I want to be nice and flat first, or even. We'll get the splines in, then we'll work our way up to our 22.5 cut these splines. And then we'll add those splines in, and then we can actually start building everything. So while that's glued and drying, we can head to the drill press to start cutting out our holes that are gonna hold our baseballs. So let's get this glued up. All right, we're gonna change the plan just a little bit. Thinking through it, this 90-degree joint with end grain and with the 45 miter is gonna be really, really weak. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to get the splines in now while it's still kind of gluing up. And we're gonna really, really coat it. So we just cut out some of these splines and we're using Paduke. And that's really just to kind of emulate the stitching of a baseball, right? So it's got the red threads. So it's gonna kind of pay homage to it. It won't be, won't be stitching, but it should look pretty cool. All right, now we've had these glued up for quite a bit. We can go ahead and get these out of the clamps because I want to go ahead. Oh, that popped right out. Look at that. All right, so there we go. We've got our 45 degree mitered with the splines, and look at that Paduke against that cedar. Just simply gorgeous. Okay, now what we've got to do, we're going to go ahead and attach our 45 degree angle, which is on our way up the base, which we've also mitered. So that should look pretty cool. And then what you saw me do at the table saw, I went ahead and cut in this indentation right here. And that's so the middle shelf can fit in perfectly. So we're gonna get these glued up. And we'll just kind of work our way up, because what I really want to do, I want to get that measurement, or these glued in perfectly. We'll get our top on, which I think we're just going to use a butt joint at this point, but we'll get that on, and then we'll get our middle two shelves on, and then our bottom shelf. So the bottom shelf, I went ahead and tested the baseball holder. So I've got the bottom shelf cut here, and I've got an 1.5 inch Forstner bit that I used to hold the ball. So obviously, yes, the ball can still come out, but if it's on the wall on display, it's not gonna move. So pretty cool. All right, so we'll glue these together, and we'll move on to our next thing. Okay, now while we wait for the frame to dry, we can go ahead and start working on the shelves, and most specifically cutting out the holes. So just like I stated before, we've got the hole here, an 1.5 inch hole, and we want it to be somewhat symmetrical. So I'm going to line up the holes. I'm going to work my way up and then over. So currently, I've got the holes 9 centimeters apart. Double check our measurement. So on center, 9 centimeters apart. We're gonna go up and then over. Okay, so now we've got our kind of our vertical. Then we can work on the center of each one. All right, now we've got all of our center lines marked. We can head to the drill press. We'll use a 1.5 inch Forstner bit. All right, now we went ahead and cut the splines off, although we still have to add one to this one. We'll do it later. We've got our shelves with our holes. We're gonna go ahead and kind of get these in. We're gonna glue it together and clamp it in, make it nice and tight, and then we'll get the bottom shelf on. It'll look something like that. So let's get these glued on. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and do a light sanding on these, get rid of the pencil marks and the burring. Let me knock out that first, and then we'll get going. All right, now we've got it fully assembled. We're ready to finish it. So I'm gonna go ahead and use some of that clear wood finish that I've been using on several projects. This is just the Deft clear wood finish. And the reason I'm doing that is, one, I like the look of cedar, but really those red splines right there, I think are gonna look super cool once those are finished. So I've got my exhaust fan, I've got a fan blowing through, got my mask, let's go. All right, another one-day build complete. A home plate baseball display turned out fantastic. And just to think, we used leftover cedar planks from a fence we built a couple years ago. So you could easily acquire this. Now, we didn't color or stain the wood. We used clear poly, and that's just to let the cedar come through. Cedar has such cool grain, as well as we got fancy with this one, and we added the Baduke's blinds. So really, we added that to pay homage to the red stitching you see on baseballs, and we didn't want to lose that. That's why we used the clear poly. It turned out freaking fantastic. Inside the home plate, you've got the ability to display 10 balls, as well as 4 additional ones on top. We added a keyhole so you can put it on the wall, as well as a shim to keep it nice and even. If you guys have anyone that collects baseballs, or you've got a youth baseball player in your family, this is the build for them. It's pretty simple. I'll leave all the descriptions down below. Hopefully you have fun. Until next time, batter up.